Welcome to the wide world of esports, a show devoted to all things esports. I'm your host, Katharine Nohr. Today, my guest is Jeremy Packer of Ultimate Gaming Championship. Welcome, Jeremy.
Hey, Catherine. Thanks for having me today.
All right, it's great to have you here. What is Ultimate Gaming Championship?
Yeah, so Ultimate Gaming Championship is turnkey esports infrastructure for brands, communities, and game developers. So you might be asking, what is esports infrastructure? I have a video for that. So
Why should brands care about esports?
yeah, so I think, if you would have asked me that like 2 years ago, maybe pre-COVID, I think the answer would have been a little bit different. But, nowadays when brands are spending so much money on advertising, hitting traditional sports, they're starting to see there's a lot of opportunity, in these younger markets, and especially what the opportunities esports provides. So I think that's why a brand should care about esports.
Okay, let's get back to the infrastructure question.
Yeah.
Um, what is esports infrastructure?
Yeah. So, part of an esports event, for instance, when you think about the live event, where you have to focus everything about the venue to the insurance to how are people going to pay for getting into this, there's a lot of pieces that go into events. And just because things have switched online doesn't make it any easier. A lot of people just have tournament signups via Google form or, collect money via PayPal, and there's someone behind the scenes doing at least 12 hours of work, depending on what it is. And so with esports infrastructure, we have built solutions around all of those problems that have helped UGC Events, which is our event company, provide top tier esports events in the industry powered by technology solutions. So we've spent the past year focusing on all of these solutions and giving it out to people, to use to basically empower their organizations with the right tools. So, just like being able to manage your teams or players are super important, we've built an ecosystem around esports that will allow players to connect to colleges, to brands, to communities, and so much more.
So, your company has been around for a long time, right?
It has.
So,
Yeah,
I think I saw 2004, is that right?
it is. We were esporting before esports was a thing.
Was
So
it even called esports back then?
it was not, and to put it in perspective, we were hosting tournaments where we didn't have to worry about internet connection. Back in the days where split screen was still a thing, and there used to not be a requirement, to have to go online to play video games. So we've been around for a while.
So, because it has the Ultimate Gaming Championship has that longevity, what has kind of been the trajectory? Like, can you give us a little bit of kind of background of what the history has been since 2004 with competitive gaming that ultimately is now called esports?
Absolutely. I think from our story, at least, it started out as a small little land center, in a small town that just started just like everyone else, having fun and getting people together. We started hosting, prize pool tournaments that were attracting lots of people. And it eventually became a thing where, we started to see Major League Gaming, MLG, everyone is familiar with, started getting legs. They were really getting some positive growth, and we started to do similar things that they did. So we started hosting Halo tournaments, started helping, 343 and Microsoft to some degree, and kind of, evolved later on from just this, land center into an esports production company. So helping people, have their own esports tournaments, renting out equipment, that type of things. It wasn't until 2016 when we raised our first seed round, got some capital, and we started to build, the future of esports as we thought it was, which was our technology platform. So over the past couple of years, once COVID hit, we had a battle-tested solution that was ready for prime time. And so we've worked with partners to, essentially highlight them in the space, but also, I always say we're giving brands the cheat codes to be successful in esports.
Fantastic. And so it sounds like the pandemic has impacted your company. Would you agree with that?
It has. We had just came off of the Halo Classic Atlantic City, which was it was a huge throwback Halo event, featuring Halo 3, and it was just kind of nostalgic. And so we were part of the, Microsoft and 343 with that, and a few other partners to basically, bring back Halo to esports, and to bring back that live competitive scene. And that was the last event that we did as soon as COVID hit, and as we switched over to it, we were planning live events, but we just knew we couldn't do it. It was too risky. There's just not enough, at the time. The 3-week window, which we've all come to realize was a lot longer than 3 weeks, became a little scary for us, as an events company, who can't host events. So we took our knowledge and our expertise and started hosting online events. And, with our toolbox of really premier features, we were able to elevate the experience that, even though players are sitting at home, they can still feel that thrill of being in a game day situation. So, switching back from that live event to really focusing on, becoming the esports technology company that we are. We'll eventually go back to live events, but, we've hosted, I think, 500 events since COVID has started, on our platform. So it's a little bit hard to go back, to the one event every few months.
So it sounds like COVID has been a good thing, or, I mean, not in a lot of ways, but for your company, it has allowed you to pivot and grow in a kind of positive way.
It has definitely helped keeping people at home. They have more time to play their Xbox, which of course helps us. So, business has been very good in 2021. And, we're really looking at this year being kind of the break year that UGC is going to be that household name.
What does that video show?
Yeah, so we are just coming off of our Battle Academy spring semester or spring season. And this is a tournament series partnered with SHI and LG Electronics. It's where we've given away over $25,000 in scholarships to high school teams across the country, but also given them esports labs. So we've given or three esports labs just last week and making the total 6 so far. So it's really exciting. I definitely wish that my school had an esports program, when I was in high school, but just to see it evolving now, it's tremendous.
Oh, so your platform can be used for um, schools, for uh, tournaments. Is that right? And what else?
Yeah, so, our platform really does it all. It started as a tournament platform, just as you would have where you would log in, sign up, compete in a tournament, and, that's it. It's evolved past to kind of an angel list or a LinkedIn of esports, where you can actually go browse teams, browse profiles, browse stats. You can connect with these brands, you can connect with colleges who are recruiting. It's an entire ecosystem. And we have really built the pipeline from that amateur to pro market. And we're slowly adding Scholastic to it as well. So we're starting to see Scholastic players who are already getting offers to play in some of the best pro teams, which is super exciting. We've had over 100 colleges compete on our platform in Battle Academy. And, you know, we're looking towards this next season even bigger with bigger prizes, bigger sponsors, and, more competition.
Wow. So what games are played on your platform? I saw Rocket League. What else?
Yeah, so we support over 27 different titles. The main things right now, we're seeing a lot of Valorant, a lot of Rocket League, a lot of League of Legends, a little bit of CSGO, those top tier games. We also still have Halo, of course. We have some weekend night leagues too, so the casual gamer can kind of go in. We have rank based tiers too. So, just in case you're not the best, you can still find something for you. Or if you really want to get sweaty, we have those for you too. So,
What is your role in the company?
yeah, so, I am the chief technology officer. So, right now, I am in charge of our online platform, our mobile apps, making sure that we're building the best products we absolutely can. I'm really hands on. I'm talking to users, to coaches, to captains almost every day, trying to figure out how can we make this product better for you? How can we build something that you're going to use? And most importantly, how can we empower your team and your esports program to be the best that you can be? And, it's been a tremendous opportunity, not from just the career standpoint, but being a gamer myself and being able to see the next generation of gamers before they're big.
So what games do you play?
So I'm a big Valorant player. I love it. It's really good. Apex Legends as well. I just there's also something wonderful about Mario Party, but it depends on, the mood, of course. So, how about yourself?
I goof around with them. I'm not very good.
Yeah.
So we do have questions from a viewer.
Okay.
Um, okay, has your company ever had a worry about social media controversy? Any tips on how to behave on social media?
Interesting. So of course, anytime that you are a public facing company, when you have, thousands of Twitter followers and you're having, hundreds of activations a year, you're always going to have some level of feedback. And, I think that UGC is very transparent in a lot of things. We've been slammed before over calls as being a coach or a tournament official, and like just like your neighborhood referee playing baseball, you might not get slammed on Twitter, but we would. So, I think that there's some things where it's inevitable, but you just have to handle it with class. If they have a valid point, address it, resolve the situation with the customer, and make sure it's okay. If you did something sketchy, then maybe you should be called out. Um, but if you didn't and it's justifiable, then work on it. So there's also a lot of trolls in esports. So be aware.
I think a lot of people don't understand that Twitter is actually customer service. I mean, if you have a problem with a company, you just put hashtag that company on Twitter and talk about it. And they actually, most companies monitor it and they get on it right away. It's faster than emailing them.
Oh, it is. When our CEO sends a tweet, of a screenshot, we're going to be a little more apt to listen to it, So I agree completely.
Sure. Okay. So what so we talk about brands, okay, and brands' interest in reaching this audience. Tell us more about why brands are interested in esports and why they would come to you with that interest.
Absolutely. If we look at the traditional model of sports in general and where we're seeing these brands spend advertising dollars, it's not uncommon for them to throw, millions of dollars at a basketball season, to have something that is seen for probably 30 seconds of a game, or we all see it where, the VP of advertising is like, look at this, we sponsored a hole in golf, here's the picture of it but what's interesting about UGC and esports is that we're building brand sentiment. Right now we're working with the St. Louis Blues for an opportunity to win, passes to go see the Blues, or like autographed pucks, things that can really integrate with your audience in a very unique way where it's not just, hey, I paid $1 million, come look at the sign. It's a, hey, come interact with our brand through esports. And I think that that's what's really exciting about that because a lot of brands aren't thinking of that kind of engagement. The days of counting likes or counting, page views are dwindling. So, and every brand has their own metrics that they're looking for. So,
Sure. And it becomes more and more about engagement, right? I mean, the number of views and everything ceases to be as important. What do you think? Why is this young audience, and maybe you can define the audience for us, interesting?
yeah, I think that this audience specifically, a lot of the older brands don't really know how to reach them. I think that with TikTok, for instance, and these short video segments, where you're looking for that attention span of like the 9 to 18 seconds, and it's like, how can I convey my message through that? And I think that with esports, it's a lot easier because they're not trying to replace that attention, they're trying to promote it alongside, if that makes sense. And I think that once they start to see that these brands are supporting their interest, then it becomes a thing. Well, I'm going to support the brand that supports my interest, and we see it with, sponsors of, McDonald's sponsoring the Olympics or whatever it may be. It's, I think that there is a need for it. And with these sponsors coming into place, it also allows, credibility for the space. Winning an LG sponsored tournament is really a big deal, and I think that having that kind of credibility behind events and having a big brand, sponsoring that, for instance, it adds credibility because of course we're going to play this tournament on LG monitors, you know, so I think that it makes sense for brands, and not every brand, of course, but the ones that are really looking for that engagement and sentiment and, for the growing industry, I think it's important.
I have been amazed at these big brands that are moving into the space. Do you think that some brands are actually moving away from traditional sports and into esports, or do you think that they're just increasing their budgets or dividing their budget?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's a very interesting question because, traditionally we saw a lot of these big brands spend a lot of money in traditional sports. And what we saw last year is that they still had to spend that budget or else they were going to lose it despite live events not really happening. So I think that, with a lot of these brands in 2021 being kind of like the experimental, like I wonder if esports is going to work for us. I think it's going to be a how can esports help us and who can help us in esports. So, I think that brands are going to start allocating more money towards it. And I think that we're going to start seeing, less of a trend on sponsoring exact players into more about the infrastructure around it, leagues and seasons and tournaments, you know, those things that have continued engagement instead of just eyeballs.
Well, okay, since let me ask you, you mentioned mobile esports and that you work in that space. And I have had a number of guests talk about mobile esports and that it isn't as big in the United States, North America, as the rest of the world. What are your thoughts about that?
I think that the market share is definitely not as big as it is, in other places. But if you go to conventions like DreamHack, where you see live stages geared at mobile gaming, it's undeniable that that's the next phase. When you have the Xbox, the new Xbox and the new PlayStation costing $500 and $600 and more, but being able to, compete with a $30 cell phone, that gap and that ability to access is so low and the barrier of entry is so significantly accessible that I think that's inevitable for it to be huge. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, and I like if I'm going to play a game, I'd rather play it on my phone than sit at a laptop or at a console because it's a little bit more relaxing and portable for me. So I think it should be bigger in
Yeah, I
America.
agree.
So I understand that UGC also has some other businesses or aspects of the business like retail. Why don't you tell us about that and what other things that UGC touches?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned about the entire ecosystem, we have four verticals that we really focus on. We focus on the event side, which is more about the live events, the tournament ops, venue planning, stage design, that kind of stuff. We have the technology, which is our platform that automates, match reporting, scheduling, any kind of disputes. We have our broadcast side, so the people who manage our Twitch, which we're in the top 1% of creators. So, 76,000 followers, over 3 million views, lots of quality content on twitch.tv/UGC. Shameless plug. Uh, and then we, of course, have the UGC store where we handle all of our custom team merchandise. So if any of these teams are interested in getting, custom mouse pads, custom jerseys, t-shirts, whatever, we can provide that for you and for your schools.
Okay, so there's a lot of new players in this space. What makes your company different?
Yeah, so outside of UGC being around and, longer than most of them have been alive, I think it's interesting to see how many players we've seen just from the pandemic alone. In the past 2 years, there's been a new esports company every single week. We see lots of companies that are raising money, that substantial amounts of money, and a lot of people who are just trying to reinvent the wheel. I think with UGC, we've built technology that empowers our expertise in, professional esports events. And we're using that same infrastructure to empower scholastic organizations across the country.
So what's up next for your company?
Yeah, so, I really think that as we focus, in the next couple of months, we're helping start a lot of scholastic esports programs, giving alternatives to a lot of these esports organizations who feel a little bit cornered in the market. offering different opportunities for them and for their players, to get in front of these brands, to get in front of these colleges and to represent themselves. Right now we've built the infrastructure, we've built this beautiful platform, and we're just, blessed. And I'll say this again, blessed to be in a space in esports to have such powerful brands supporting us to support the gamers. So,
So, what led you to become the Chief Technology Officer of UGC? What was your background before that?
yeah, so I come from a consumer mobile app background. I've launched a app previous to this that is used in quite a few countries and doing very well called Rap Chat. So my focus on building products that people use is very interesting to me. The CEO and I of this company have known each other since we were 13. So, returning back to this company and being able to help, esports and competitive gaming is kind of in my blood. So being able to, go to Silicon Valley and to come back and to, feel equipped to bring esports to the masses, it was an opportunity I couldn't say no to.
So, a lot of times it seems like every time this particular word that I'm going to say is used um, on my show or anywhere else, people kind of like cringe because they say, "Oh, it's overused." I'm going to say the word authenticity. What are your thoughts about authenticity for brands?
Yeah, I think authenticity is the number one important thing. Like, there's nothing worse than releasing something that is just off brand and pigeonholes you into something that you're not about. And that's where UGC comes in because we understand this ecosystem and we understand the community so well that we can advise your brand on the proper things to do so you don't run into those situations.
Sure. And how can people get in touch with you if they're interested in talking with you regarding any of your roles in the space?
Yeah, if you have any questions or if you're looking to kickstart an esports league or a tournament, please feel free to reach out. It's Jeremy at ugc.gg.
All right. Well, it was great having you on the show today, Jeremy. Thank
Yeah,
you.
so much.
All right. So thank you for joining us today. And thank you to the viewer who sent in the questions. Make sure to tune in for a very special show next week. My guests will be Dexter Carr Jr. of G Haven and Aaron Rice of VC Cam Studios. Join us while our avatars drive speedboats, dance to baskets, and explore a 3D space. Thank you. See you then.